you have a much, much better chance of being struck by lightning, of being bitten by a shark, of being bitten by a snake, of dying in an airplane crash, of becoming an astronaut, of becoming canonized, than you do of winning the lottery.
Your chance of winning varies by state and game, and to put this into perspective, for the Powerball, it's
1 in 292.2 million.
For the Megamillions, it's even worse. But someone's winning. It's just not the people buying the tickets. Despite terrible odds, about 50% of Americans still play the lottery for a chance to win.
If I were to win, I would give my money to the church, I would buy a house, I would take a trip to Jamaica and set my kids up for the future.
I'd probably go upstate someplace and get me a little place up there.
I would share the money with my family, give the church some of the money. I will gamble out back the rest.
Many of those who play lose. And can you guess who those losers are?
Poorer, less educated, and non-white Americans.
That's right. They're actually the most loyal customers. Research says the poorest households buy half of all lotto tickets, and Black people spend 5 times more on lottery tickets than white Americans. The link between lottery play and the poor has existed for at least 40 years, and that's partly because of how lotteries are advertised. State lotteries spend more than $500 million on ads annually. And when lotteries first started out, their marketing campaigns were often pervasive and misleading, like this.
Lotto is the big one, one more ball, and you could be a millionaire.
A lot of the messaging was you are going to win, or you could hit the jackpot, or just come play, your jackpot is right around the corner.
The lottery ads of the 1980s and 90s focused on inspiring hope. But we'll come back to this later.
The message from lottery advertising nowadays is really focused around fun.
And what they're not advertising is that individuals who play the lotto lose 35 to 47 cents on the dollar each time they buy a ticket. That statistic is not something lotteries have to advertise. The FTC does not regulate state lotteries because they are regulated at the state level. But the most important part is that we do not regulate them because they are not interstate commerce. Lotteries are very obviously targeting people who desperately want to win, but have the most to lose. In the US, lotteries are regulated at the state level. This means the FTC, which is in charge of protecting the public from deceptive and unfair business practices, can't stop these misleading advertisements.
It's been well known for decades that lotteries prey on the poor, and legislators just seem not to care. It's easy for legislators to write it off and ignore these populations and what it is doing to their communities.
So if poor people aren't winning, who is? If you guessed the government, you're right. Since 2005, lottery ticket sales have grown $35 billion. About 50 to 60% goes to prize winners, 5% goes to retailers, 10% accounts for administrative costs and overhead for running the game, and
around 30% goes to the states themselves, to either a specific program or to the state general fund.
Lottery revenue is a huge source of income for many states. It generates more than $21 billion a year in government revenue. No wonder 45 states now operate lotteries. So how are states actually using lotto money? Well, it's entirely up to their discretion. Kansas uses some of its lottery money to pay for juvenile detention facilities. North Dakota dedicates a portion of its funds to combat gambling addiction. In D.C., it goes to a general fund. In Indiana, it's used for social services like teachers' pensions. And in Colorado, lottery funds go toward environmental protection.
So the lottery has gained a reputation, but it is totally a state-by-state thing, and in many states, the lottery does not benefit education in any way.
Overall, 27 states designate some or all of their lottery revenue for education. In fact, education was a primary reason why lotteries made a comeback in the U.S. Before the 1960s, virtually all lotteries were outlawed, in part because of shady business practices of the Louisiana State Lottery Company, aka the Octopus, which mailed lottery tickets across the country for people to play. That game ended in the 1890s, when Congress banned the sale of lottery tickets across state lines. And after that, lotteries pretty much disappeared until 1963.
This is a very historic occasion, not only for the state of New Hampshire, but for the people of our country, because tomorrow we're holding our first drawing for the first $1 million worth of sweepstakes tickets that have been sold.
New Hampshire became the first state to establish a legal lottery in more than a century, and its profits raised money for education. A few years later, New York and New Jersey formed their own lotteries, kicking off the first wave of lottery legalization in the U.S.
New Hampshire and New York tied the lottery to education, but really because they were the lottery pioneers and they needed to legitimize lotteries, and education was the simplest and easiest way for them to do so. But most states, including New Jersey in 1969, tied the lottery to the general fund on the assumption that it could subsidize a wide variety of state services.
So how does the lottery affect the people who play it? Remember, people who play the lottery lose an average of 35 to 47 cents on the dollar. But the states, they make about 44 cents from the lotto for each state corporate income tax dollar. And 11 states got more money from the lottery than they did from taxing corporations. Some critics argue that this tax burden has shifted from wealthy corporations to poor people buying lottery tickets.
The lottery is the definition of a regressive tax, meaning it takes more money from those who are poor than it does from those who are richer. If any legislator today proposed an income tax or a sales tax with the regressivity of a modern state lottery, it would be laughed at.
But one lottery system seemed to get it right. In the 1920s, Casper Holstein started a sweepstakes, which grew to become the prominent daily lottery game in Harlem and other Black communities for 60 years. It was called The Numbers, and it built an underground economy for Black and Hispanic New Yorkers.
They were in many cases run by community leaders, people who made a point of investing shares of their profits back into their community.
Critics disliked the numbers game for relying largely on poor Black people, which they saw as exploitation. Yet,
the games were huge sources of employment, particularly for non-white men, many of whom had arrest records because of constant police harassment of numbers runners who could continue working and find employment in the urban economy.
According to one report, there were an estimated 100,000 numbers workers across the 5 boroughs, while 60% of the area's economic life depended on cash flow from the numbers. Money from the numbers also bankrolled civil rights groups and many small businesses. By 1980, the street-run businesses generated an estimated $800 million to $1.5 billion annually in New York. That same year, state legislators co-opted the business model and implemented a similar lottery.
When states in the Northeast enacted their own lotteries, this part of the urban economy disappeared.
Regressivity concerns also extended to our education system,
where states have put large percentages of lottery profits towards scholarships for in-state universities, but these scholarships are merit-based rather than need-based. And study after study has shown that merit-based scholarships disproportionately go to richer and whiter students.
It's no longer a secret that the lottery preys on the poor. So why do we still play?
I play the lottery because I'm taking a chance on winning.
I play the lotto because I still have that dream. Doing better, be able to move out of the projects, and go live around other people.
Even though some people don't win the lottery, as I haven't won the Megamillion or the Powerball, but you know, I still win my little Pig 3 or my Win 4. I still get something back. Just like today, as of right now, I played a couple of numbers and a couple of scratch-offs, and one of the scratch-offs I hit $200.
Sociologists say people play the lottery because it seems like a fast and promising way to escape poverty.
In the modern 21st century, there are fewer and fewer opportunities for poor people and people without education to climb the income ladder. And we should not be surprised that more and more people have turned to the lottery as their best chance at the American dream.
But that dream is costly. Lottery players often finance their tickets by skimping on necessities like food and housing.
Blaming lottery players takes a very limited view of the value that lottery players get out of their tickets. It assumes that the only reason people are playing is to win. Having a lottery ticket for a drawing that has not happened yet provides a joy for a lot of people and a chance to a dream and imagine a better life.
Yeah, this is the winning ticket, 20 million.